Oh, I'm sorry. I was just enjoying my favorite wrestling night snack, cheese and peanut butter crackers. What's yours? It's wrestling and food. On the outdated wrestling. I need a bromo. Outdated wrestling hour. As I used to say in the entertainment world way back when, take two. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Smith. I used to be the managing editor of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I was also the associate editor or assistant editor when I first started there. So if you look at an old issue and see a different title, I worked my way up. Hope everything's good. I got a bunch of stuff to talk about this time. It's all by my lonesome this time. A lot of things happening. First of all, this is the food show that I teased about, I don't know, a month, 2 months ago, something like that. And I enjoyed putting it together, the connections between wrestling and food, various wrestlers, various foods, foods you could get at wrestling arenas, so on and so forth. But I felt there really wasn't enough there to make a whole show out of it. So we'll have a whimsical tail end of this show. And as a bonus, we're going to stick I'm going to offer you my review of SummerSlam, which was just this past Sunday in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland rocks. I love Cleveland. We'll do that. We're going to do a couple of notes from some listeners who've taken the time to write to me about things. And hopefully you'll find something to enjoy in all this. So first things first, the usual Joe Walsh announcement. He's from Cleveland. I just thought of that. Yeah. Joe is from Cleveland, Ohio. The James gang were from Cleveland. But anyway, enough of my yakking. Let's get on with things. Take a look at SummerSlam, the good, the bad, the indifferent, the sideways, the lengthwise, whatever. And we'll be back. I got to shut up. Give me 29 seconds. I'll come right back.
This is Joe Walsh. One thing I do when I'm not playing rock and roll is get on the air as an amateur radio operator. Also called ham radio, is a communication service provided by ordinary people just like you and me. We have a national emergency communication system in place 24/7, 365. Find out more about amateur radio at arrl.org/whatishamradio. See you on the air.
Yes, SummerSlam. 57,791 people packing the Cleveland Browns Stadium. Your genial hosts were Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Pat. Sorry, I got a little nauseous for a minute. Pat McAfee. Well, anyway, first off, you watch the entire Peacock presentation. Now, this is incredible, all right? From the endless pregame shows to the postcard interviews, if you watched every bit of this, I'm serious, and you can look this up, it would cost you more than 8 hours of your life if you sat there from the beginning to the very end of this presentation. The total time of actual wrestling, about 1 hour, 48 minutes. Tell you what, talk about selling the sizzle. I mean, wow. I mean, you know, I'm a big sports guy, as you know, and I covered sports. The thing is, I never watch pre-games. I never watch post-games. I watch the meat of a game or a contest, and that's it. I shut it off the minute the last buzzer sounds or last out is made. That's it. That's just the way I look at sports. And I don't need pre-games. I don't need post-games. Usually nothing of consequence happens. And in this case, if something did, I didn't know about it. And if something happened in the pregame, I'm sure they would replay it during SummerSlam itself. The Miz was your host this year. More proof he's going to be in WWE forever. And I'm not so sure that's such a bad thing. He's a fantastic tool when he decides to be a heel. He always has been. Just like Logan Paul. They're both a couple of giant tools. It works. That's why you hate them. They're decent enough in the ring, both of them. In fact, they're both real good in the ring. So if you hate them, it's because they're good tools. And like my dad said, always buy good tools. Don't buy cheap tools. I'm sorry, that was something else entirely. But anyway, then we started out the festivities, 2 segments with Jelly Roll. And you know what? That was too much sugar for me. Enough to give me the sugar, as my grandmother used to say. So let's just get on with the action. The opener, red hot. Liv Morgan, women's champion, versus Rhea Ripley with Dirty Dom by her side. But not for long. I'm sure you've heard all about the betrayal. I was a little surprised that Liv won. Samantha Irvin, whatever her name is, the ring announcer. A lot of people love that stuff. Give me the old man who used to say the last names twice. Weighing in at 275 pounds from Canada, Butcher Bashan. That's me. That's what I like. I mean, these things, if you look at her, she looks like she's auditioning for a role in a horror film. Mouth open wide, eyes bulging. They're acting the announcements now. They're not just saying the words. But, a lot of people seem to like it. It's minor. It's okay. Anyway, when this match started, Liv started to do her homage to Larry Zbyszko. She kept stepping in and out of the ring, and I thought that was kind of cool. I did. It's just old school stalling, and I thought it was really nice. She also did the Baron Mikel Cicluna high punch that misses by 3 feet. A couple minutes into the wrangling. Once they locked up, Rhea had just handed it to Liv for minutes. Once they locked up, Rhea's spectacular in the ring. She looks spectacular. She is spectacular. There's nothing about it that isn't, really pleasing. She is the biggest superstar in the women's division in WWE. There's you can't even dispute it. And again, she's a total original in presentation style, manner, speech, you name it. She's going to be in top for a long time. And she's just got it. The spot a lot of people are griping about is the shoulder separation again. She pounded it against the desk and voila, it came back to life and what have you. But here we go. All right. We can't have the 2 women. And by the way, Liv was really good in this match too. You know what? She can keep up. Other people in fine podcasting don't think Liv is that great. I think she's fine. She's a little undersized, but you can't blame her for that. She keeps up. She's good off the top row, fearless. I think she's exceptionally underrated. And you know what? She has her place there, and she's earned it too. So anyway, in the end, as we all know, that Rhea's going to use a chair. Dom grabs the chair, telling Rhea, you'll get disqualified, don't do it. But then he slides the chair back in so that Liv can take advantage. And eventually, Liv scores the pinfall victory. And the icing on the cake, Dom kisses Liv on the way out. They walk away together. Rhea is livid, and it's fantastic to watch. And gold. It's gold. It's real good. I'm sorry, it's good. A little Peyton Place. Well, there's a dated reference, okay, but I'm outdated. A little Peyton Place, but it worked. Great opener. No complaints. Now we'll go on to the rest of the card. I don't even know if these are. I jotted my notes down. And being an old man who uses paper, I'm not even sure that these are in order, but they're pretty close. Braun Breaker beats Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Good. I mean, if you really think about this, Sami Zayn was playing in Stasiak for 2024. He was transitional. He had his time, but Braun is the future. A dominant victory, just what Braun needed. and he earned it. It was really a decent few minutes. It didn't last long. It displayed Mr. Breaker or Mr. Steiner, whatever you want to call him, as the dominant force he is and is going to be. That's just a little bit off kilter. I like his character. I like everything he's done so far. An excellent addition to Raw and SmackDown. Just great. So let's hear it for Sammy too, for being so selfless and doing the right thing here. I think it's a wonderful thing. We have new secondary champions. We're going to learn more about that in just a second, as LA Knight finally wins his first gold in WWE, capturing the United States Championship with his win over Logan Paul. Again, Logan Paul's a great tool. And yes, LA Knight gets compared to Steve Austin and so on and so forth, and everybody. He's like an amalgam. No, he's not. I've heard that for 3 years now. Dig up the old NWA tapes to see how he was. He was always who he is now. It just took a bigger spotlight to make him the star that he is. That suplex off the top, holy smokes, that LA put on Logan. Whew. I don't know how he didn't hurt him for real, but wow. And of course, for once, the brass knucks didn't work. He actually belted LA with the brass knucks, but he turned it into his finisher anyway. And I forget the name of the finisher, the modified DDT, whoever the hell did. LA Knight. Everybody has a name for their finisher. But anyway, LA Knight winning the titles about 10 months overdue. I got the feeling that the Logan Paul LA Knight saga is not over because they took it too long. It took a long time to develop. He beat up the Prime Drink truck or whatever the heck that thing was. It's going to be a lot more going on between these two, I think. But for now, I'm just happy that LA Knight gets his due, finally. Nice. Nia Jax versus Bayley for the championship of the SmackDown brand. And no surprise, just like Sami Zayn, I think Bayley was a transitional champ. Jax could have won even without Tiffany Stratton's interference, and I'm thinking this whole thing is going to end up with a Tiffany being a face, taking on Nia Jax for the World Championship. I don't know which championship is the world title. WWE Women's title and WWE Women's World's title? Is that what it is? Is that how it works? Huh? Who? Why? What? Tiffany Stratton is great. She's great. She's not just good. She's great. Flying all over the ring. Fantastic aerial maneuvers. Strong. Looks have nothing to do with this. She's just a fantastic athlete and a legitimate athlete. I think her versus Nia Jax in the future is going to be something to see. I'm sure they got more plans for Bayley too. Maybe something she's going to reunite with her former faction. Maybe now that they've turned face somehow, huh? Anyway, there's that. McIntyre versus Punk with Seth Rollins as referee. I'm sorry. Seth freaking Rollins. I'm sorry, kids. To me, it was a surprise that Drew won. I'm serious. It's not that he won, but the whole friendship bracelet on the wrist deal was something I didn't see coming. Lots of action, lots of hard hitting in this one. This one isn't over, obviously. This is going to drag on without dragging on. By that I mean they're going to have some more really good matches. What they really need to do is with these two is get Seth out of the way and let them go at it. Either that, or let's have the three-way. Let's have a three-way between the three of them. That could be a classic three-way. They have built this to the T. They all hate each other. Wonderful. And you know what? Throw them in the ring. No DQ. Let them battle it out. I think it'll be a match for the ages. But for right now, a very good match. Ended it with a Claymore and all that. More to come on this. And there's going to be more to come with the new world champion, Gunther, beat Damian Priest after, well, the story was Finn Balor dropping Gunther's leg on the rope. So the referee had to break the pinfall attempt. The distraction. In one night, the whole Judgment Day went kaput. No more Rhea and Dom. Damian is going to be after Finn. It's over. It's got to be over. As I tape this, it's the Monday night of a Raw after the pay-per-view, so I'm not really sure where this is all going to go, but I will say this. Yeah, that's the end of the Judgment Day. It was a good faction. But notice they're all faces now, except for Dom and Finn. Maybe Dom and Finn will keep it going with new members, including Liv. Interesting. We'll see where this goes. In any event, they hardly tried to turn him, but Damien and Rhea are both major faces now. Even if they break rules. Nobody cares when they break the rules anymore. It's so passe. Bob, what are you talking about? That's the old days, you bum, you. So anyway, we finished up with Cody beating Solo Sikoa thanks to the return of Roman Reigns. Not a surprise, but a big surprise. You never know when somebody's going to be unleashed. Like, the day that CM Punk first came back, you never really know which way these things are going to go. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Solo getting his ass kicked, to be honest with you, because he never wins a match by himself, just the same way Roman never wins a match by himself. Which brings me to my constant gripe with WWE. In every match but one, Sammy versus Braun, there was some kind of outside interference that affected things. Every match but one. We are absolutely conditioned to expect these things now. I find it very unsatisfying. Why can't we have a clean win once in a while? Or even a nefarious win from, the heel without having to use somebody else to get it. It's getting old, WWE. This is why I give this one a B instead of an A, this entire affair of SummerSlam 2024. Because I've had it with the outside interference. For 3 years, we've watched various bloodline people running in and out of the ring. And tag teams that protect each other, the whole 9 years. There's always been outside interference, but never to this degree. Never to this degree. Here's your cake, sir. Where's the frosting? No frosting. It kind of besmirches things for me. It's not much fun when it's outside interference after outside interference. All I know is they're the most blind referees in the history of anything. And by the way, if you ever want to have some fun, watch a referee count to 10 in WWE. You should play Lawrence Welk theme in the background because they do a little dance. 1, 2 steps back, turn to the side, 2 steps front, look down. 2. Yes, it takes about 17 minutes to count from 1 to 10. But that's the way it is these days, kids. So anyway, that's SummerSlam. I give it a B. I'm interested to see how you felt about it. You can always write to me at outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. And by the way, those of you who are writing me, write me there. I'm gonna change my opinion on something here. Write me on Gmail, outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. Please, I'm gonna ask this kindly because my DM box on Facebook is filling up to the brim and I can't control it at this point. So if you've been writing me, write to me in a regular email. I will not have time to answer any Facebook unsolicited comments. If you want to talk, and I will write you back, do it on Gmail where I will have the time to take. It all has to do with the production of the show and how long it takes to get things done. So I'm asking you fine folks, I want to hear from you. And I want to hear from you at outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. The Facebook DMs, I may close to only associates because it's getting a little crazy in there. You know how it is. Social media, what can I tell you? We're going to take a break. Then we're going to come back with the food thing. Food. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Wrestling Fans International Association is back. That's right, the premier fan club association of the 1970s and 1980s has been revived and is back in business. Join today. It's free at thewfia.org. That's thewfia.org. You can also join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/WFIA 1969.
You may ask yourself, really, a food show? Yeah, a food show. Now, I can't show you a sizzling burger or anything like that, but we can talk about food, and even pro wrestling has a history with culinary delights. So now the Outdated Wrestling Hour will take a look at odd connections with wrestling and food. Yes, there are some. I mean, if you go back as far as I do, and I go way back, I started wrestling fandom in 1970 or thereabouts. And why is it that in the 70s, all these wrestlers displayed an almost unhealthy obsession with Polish kielbasa, which is like a sausage, a hard sausage? Sure, it's tasty, but it's not good for you. And it was like the most popular wrestler food. I mean, the Mighty Igor He used to spend minutes before he would lock up trying to get referees, wrestlers, and fans, even the announcers, to take a bite off his oversized meat stick. And then, of course, not long after Igor's major success in Detroit came Ivan Putski to the WWF, who was really Igor Light. I'm sorry, he was. And he, complete with his oversized, gotten his love for salted meat sticks. And he continued to do that stuff. There's a picture of him on the internet, on Facebook, an area called The Wonderful History of Pro Wrestling. There's a photo of Putski attending an annual Kielbasa Festival in Chicopee, Massachusetts in 1984, near the end of his WWF run. So he played it up. We'll talk more about Putski in a little while, but also Yukon Moose Sholak. I remember him vividly. He was in the old NWF for a spell. Ron Martinez and all those guys. He was the announcer, and, he did the interviews. And here's Yukon Moose, all 400 X pounds of him, trying to get Ron Martinez to take a bite out of his sausage. These guys seem obsessed with kielbasa, but no more so than Vince McMahon, who put on some of the most twisted stuff on his wrestling program. He had remember the TNT talk show? Well, of course, he has Putski on, and they talk about wrestling for a while. And then he did a completely whack segment called The Polish Sausage Harvest. It was in the studio, but they showed sausages hanging from trees and a crazy dancing old lady and stuff, and none of it made the slightest bit of sense. But Putski went along with the whole stupid thing. Why? Kielbasa. It's got to be wrestling's number one food, By the way, watch out what you eat at the arenas. I visited Memphis once, and this is a long time ago. They probably, all the sports arenas now have like gourmet food. You go to like Citi Field in New York here, and the food is not only ridiculously expensive, but it's also very, very high quality. And I remember going to Memphis when it wasn't the Pipkin building and it wasn't the Mid-South Coliseum. They were running, I think, an empty flea market somewhere because of, some kind of a building snafu. And for sale at the arena was something called chicken on a stick, which was bread battered and fried. And I mean fried, man. It was heavy, heavy food. So while I was there, we looked at the sign. I went, nah, but people were lining up and buying them. Like there was nothing wrong with them. They loved them. And the next day, though, I found out a major USWA talent had gotten sick that very night. I thought the illness came from, you guessed it, scarfing down a chicken on a stick. I can't imagine what people felt like when they tried what was right next to it. It was called fried Cajun chicken on a stick. Whoa. So hot and bothersome. Also on the menu, nothing like raging spices to go along with your gastrointestinal flora. I also saw other items at this particular venue, fried bologna sandwiches, and of course fried pickles, which is huge in the South. They're actually good if they're made right. Fried pickles are A-okay for me. Stop at Bobby on a diet. Also spotted at smaller arenas in Tennessee, which, by the way, I'm giving the unofficial award for best wrestling and food state, because they care a lot about both, and they love their barbecue. But there was an arena in Tennessee that was selling, and I'm not making this up, fried butter sticks, fried butter. I'm not kidding. They would deep fry a stick of butter. And fried dough, the likes I have never seen before. It was like the size of a Carmen Ghia hubcap. This thing could feed a family of 6, and it was really fried. And the smell of it was permeating the whole section. It was just, whoa. But those were the days. I think times have changed from the local purveyors of really greasy food to, you got Shake Shack and some arenas, famous stuff. I think that things may have changed, but maybe they haven't. Now, an arena near Albany, not the Albany one I used to go for, it wasn't near there, used to serve something called Flavo shrimp rolls, which looked like an egg roll from a Chinese restaurant, but in reality, they were like noodle rolls loaded with shredded shrimp, just like it said. I remember seeing the ads for them at the local highway drive-in in Coxsackie, New York. That's the name of the town, Coxsackie, New York. I've been informed these things were a regular item at all the drive-ins up and down the strip where I lived. And I didn't have the courage to try one, but I brought a young lady to the movies once at the drive-in, and she tried the Flavo shrimp roll. Let's just say she had to open the door after about a half an hour. I'm not kidding. That is a true story. So enough with the Flavo shrimp rolls. It looked a little overcooked, and then when she ate it, she was overcooked too. So, ugh. Now, there's some good food related with wrestling. In San Diego, there's a cool Lucha Libre taco shop, and that's the name of it. It's a Mexican restaurant. The walls are adorned with masked grapplers, and your orders get ring announced to you over the PA when you place your order. It's really cool. And according to TripAdvisor and people like that, the food's really good. And of course, there are other wrestling-related people who are also food proprietors. The most notorious was an unsavory grappler by the name of Abdullah the Butcher and his world-famous Atlanta-based Abdullah the Butcher's House of Ribs and Chinese Food. I went there, said, well, if I'm not going to eat, but I did look around a little bit, and yes, you could go in and try to digest some beef with broccoli while you gazed at the wall where they had a bunch of gory Abbey photos. It doesn't make any sense at all. Bloody fork pictures along with your, rib platter. But it was around for a long time. It's no longer there, and it must have been good to last as long as it did. It was Abdullah the Butcher's House of Ribs and Chinese Food in Atlanta. Now, there was a somewhat higher quality of food restaurant named The Squared Circle in Chicago, which was run by Lisa Marie Barone, better known as Victoria, or Atara, I guess it was pronounced when she was in TNA. It's no longer in business, but musician friends I know in Chicago say the place was great, and they miss it. They thought it was a wonderful place, but I don't know how many of these restaurants that COVID, really did a number on because people weren't going out to eat for a long time. But one of the most expensive restaurant ideas I can remember, and I've been in this place, was the WWF restaurant in Times Square in Manhattan in the 90s. And let me tell you, it was a huge, expansive restaurant. I walked through there because I couldn't get a table once. I just walked in with a couple of people, and we looked around, and that place was mobbed. And most of the Times Square area restaurants in Manhattan are mobbed, but this one had a great location, and it was big. I remember it being really, really a big place. And I said, man, this place is going to be here 20 years. And it didn't last. It just fizzled out. The restaurant business is notoriously hard to do anything with, whether you're famous or not. But it's nice to see there are some success stories. Like right now, Jerry Lawler in Memphis. I want to tout to you the King Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill. Beale Street, right in the heart of Memphis, Tennessee, just where it belongs. The food and decor really have a wrestling fan in mind. It's meant for wrestling fans to come and visit, but also you won't last on Beale Street if the food's not good. The Rendezvous barbecue place is there. There's so many world-class Memphis restaurants right on that strip. And if Jerry Lawler has made it a number of years now there, it's got to be a good restaurant, and it's on my bucket list. I got to go. I haven't been yet, but I haven't seen Jerry in, 2.5, 3 decades. So I would really like to get into town and check out King Jerry Lawler's Hall of Fame Bar and Grill, a staunch success in the world of wrestler-owned eateries, I'll tell you that much. Much more successful than something that was called Hulk Hogan's Pasta Mania. I don't get it. They were opened in 95 in the Mall of America, Minnesota. Around for less than a year, and it got a big push on WCW TV. But as you remember, 1995 Hogan was not Hulkamania Hogan. The height of it in the mid 80s, early 80s. Pasta? Really? Can't vouch for the quality. I never went there, but I saw the ads with Jimmy Hart and Hulk Hogan holding up noodles. I don't know what to say. It's what he did. I understand, though, that Hogan opened a smaller eatery, I think, that's still around. I cannot vouch for that. Couldn't get any information on it. If any of you know about it, let me know about it, too. No, I hope he's doing fine. I hope he seems to be a happy guy these days, and it's nice to see that. But, of course, who can forget WWF ice cream bars? I can't believe this stuff went over, and it did. The first product was around for more than 20 years, according to all the information I got on this. More than 20 years, the original incarnation. It was basically a wrestler on a stick, right? With the cookie on the outside, with the picture on it, and then the creamy part, and you hold it with a stick and eat it like an ice cream bar. But it was different. It wasn't a coated ice cream bar. And whoever did the stamping, the food colored stamping on the wrestler, I will say this for that product. The wrestler looked great. The cartoon of the wrestler looked awesome. Very realistic, great depictions. And, it wasn't like, if you get an animal cracker or animal cookies, they call them, and they're kind of stamped wrong, and monkey ends up looking like, I don't know, a ghost or something. These always look perfect. And they didn't break until you bit into it. Like, I never saw a broken one. I never saw a melted one. So the quality control was good. But how many stars got their own delicious ice cream novelty, right? How many people want? I made a count informally, and I'm going to read the list of original ice cream bar stars. Now, I don't want to turn on Facebook. I know it's going to happen. I'm going to go to Facebook and say this edition is coming out of the show, right? Then I'm going to read this list, and I'm going to get one of the famous nerd know-it-alls and go, you left out Iron Mike's shop. This is not meant to be comprehensive. This is just all the names I remember and could dig up. There may have been more. I'll give you credit, okay? So if you know more, please don't snark at me, because this is just an unbelievably successful multi-decade success in wrestling in terms of a crossover product. So here's the stars that I could figure out were on these yummy ice cream bars. George the Animal Steel. Bobby Heenan. Can you... That's amazing. Coco Beware. Of course, Andre the Giant. The Honky Tonk Man, who, by the way, the artist rendering of him doing this like twist on the ice cream bar is pretty impressive. Stone Cold Steve Austin had one, as did Bret the Hitman Hart. Junkyard Dog, of course. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Randy Macho Man Savage, and of course, the lovely Elizabeth. Hillbilly Jim. Lex Luger. The tag team of Rick Martel and Tito Santana, known as Strike Force. Boy, I hope I'm remembering the two names right. You know what? All the Can-Am Connection, Strike Force, there was another 2 or 3 of those. Something called All American Boys. They all blurred to me. They just did. At that point, I was kind of fading in and out of watching every show. And I don't remember, let's say, the Salt and Pepper Shake match set of good guy tag teams, because they had a whole mess of them. And I wasn't into them. Because even into the mid-'80s, the WWE, the base tag teams were, well, those generic 2 very handsome guys together. That was the selling point, I think. Other than Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham, that was a great team, legitimately, and they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. So anyway, where was I listing all these guys here? All right, let's go on with the list. I said Steve Austin. I said Junkyard Dog. How about Chris Jericho had one? The Rock had one. Diesel, better known these days as Kevin Nash. The 1, 2, 3 Kid. CM Punk. That's amazing. John Cena. Carlito. Bobby Lashley. And I'm sure there's a lot more that I'm leaving out. So please have pity on me. This is all for fun, this show, okay? Like, anyone not wearing short pants would have a clue what you're talking about. So let's just move on from the accuracy of the ice cream bars, okay? I know it's coming. I can feel it. So according to the news I dug up, the original product was out for more than 20 years, and they tried to revive them in 2020. They only had, I think, 4, and I think they were all in the same package, according to what I understand. They had Roman Reigns, John Cena, Becky Lynch, and the Macho Man Randy Savage. But from what I understand, they weren't on a stick. It was more like an ice cream sandwich, and they didn't go over. According, again, this is all research. I did see these in the stores for the longest time in my local Key Food. Not that I'm giving him an ad, but yeah, I did see that product, so it did exist. While I was researching this, I found out almost by accident that one of the most popular stars of like the last 3 decades owned a Shoney's. Now, I have my own personal anecdotes about Shoney's. I love Shoney's, all right? And it was Scott Steiner. Apparently, according to news reports I read, that Scott Steiner once owned a Shoney's in Georgia. Now, I've never been to this particular location, all right? But Shoney's was an answered prayer during my musician days. I am telling you, I used to tour up and down, I was Robert Charles, and I made all those albums and stuff, but I also played out all over the East Coast for a long time. And I used to drive up and down I-95 corridor, as I call it, forever. It goes from New York all the way down into the tip of Florida, 95. The I stands for interstate, right? And once you pass the Mason-Dixon line, I-95 is dotted with Shoney's. And I used to do these like 11-day tours, and I could spend, I'm telling you, $60 total on food if I stopped at Shoney's all the time. Now, there were times when I would drive the equipment, other times I'd have people with me, but when I was alone, I would always go to Shoney's because they had like this $6.99 breakfast buffet with all your favorite food, you know. I don't know if the beverage was included, but the buffet was like cheap. And you could just sit there and chow down. They had a breakfast and a lunch buffet. And if I'm not mistaken, they may have even had a dinner buffet. It saved my butt during those times when, you know, I had money, but touring is expensive. So Shoney's, you know, was a lifesaver for me. And the food wasn't bad. I've had worse food. I'll put it this way. I'll put Shoney's or Denny's 10 times out of 10 every time. But anyway, Mr. Steiner apparently decided to close his restaurant probably around, you know, COVID time, 2020 or something like that. But I just found it interesting that he even owned a Shoney's. And I think it's kind of cool. I think he kind of kept that on the QT. I don't know. I'd have to talk to him to find out. But there's no controversy about any of this. He just happened to own a Shoney's. Or had a franchise. I probably should say it that way. And, of course, we've had wrestlers that did food commercials over the course of the many years, right? Most famously, Randy Savage, of course, snapping to a Slim Jim, oh yeah, and all that stuff, right? But recently, if you notice, they did a new commercial with Bianca Belair and LA Knight, as well as the voice of the Macho Man. Oh yeah, you know, and that Slim Jim's continue to advertise. How long consecutively has Slim Jim's done stuff with wrestling? It's a long time. That's got to be one of the most loyal wrestling advertisers out there. Also, in the old days, but later than Savage did, they brought in the Ultimate Warrior to do ads for Slim Jim's. Maybe that's when Savage went to WCW. I don't know. But I know there are Ultimate Warrior ads for Slim Jims, which makes sense. You get the feeling that you get after watching an Ultimate Warrior match was similar to what you felt after eating one of those really long Slim Jims, you know? Or even for the really adventurers out there who eat at convenience stores a lot, the legendary Rolai's Big Beef Chevys. Oh man, I used to eat those. I am young and stupid. It's like this thick meat stick that kind of tastes like a hot dog, with kind of a spicy punch to it, pickled. Nothing tastes like a Rolai's Big Beef Chevy. Yeah, we'll get an endorsement deal after this. Who knows? And I've seen commercials. Booker T did Hungry Man TV dinners, right? Remember old WCW and the NWA, Dusty Rhodes for Mellow Yellow Soda? I wonder if he drank too much, did he soften the blow with BC powders? Remember they used to advertise in WCW too, or the NWA, BC powders? Headaches. And for some reason, Chef Boyardee was in bed with the WWF for a while. Booker T and Kane did commercials for them, and also Mankind and the Hardy Boys and people like that. Late period Sting in WCW did an ad for Sprite. And the most amazing of all the wrestlers doing, the type of guy who I'd never think would do a food ad for whatever reason. Of course, Chris Jericho did an ad for Taco Bell. I think it was geared toward Canadians. I'm not sure. But wrestling and food, man, you know, it's a natural. I miss the old days when concessions wouldn't cost you a third of a week's pay at a big, noisy arena. Everything is so blown up now, especially the prices of stuff, you know? Maybe you could just go grab a hot dog and a popcorn and a beer or a soda, and you wouldn't have to think twice at all. You just grab it. I'll go back to 1976, 77 at the Armory. I used to watch wrestling, and a hot dog was either 75 cents or $1. I think a drink was 75 cents. The program was $1. And that was the most expensive thing I spent. There was no gimmicks. There were no t-shirts. There was no nothing. Now, I'm not saying that's better or worse. Times change. Merchandising is probably an important part of the wrestling industry now. Both online, ordering through the television, and then showing up at the arena and buying some toys. Have fun. You know, have fun at the arenas. I'm just contrasting. I'm not even making a statement about all this, but just showing off how things have changed. I mean, those wooden tables, nothing on them and just some hot dogs, and sometimes they were pre-wrapped, like they used to do at the ballparks. But it was simpler. That's all I'm getting around to saying. In fact, my whole life, or at least my whole life, felt simpler back then. Everything is complicated now. I'm not complaining, but times change. And if you're like me, you go out to eat these days, and I do it. I've never had any kids, so I have a tendency to eat out a lot, And as busy as I am, it's actually quicker, and probably no more expensive for me, for one or two people, just to go out and have something, the diner, restaurant, or fast food place. And I got to tell you, every day I see the price going up. The most disgusting thing to me is grocery stores. I can't believe the prices of things. Like when I go shopping for hard goods, I'm not really all that surprised at prices. I am surprised at groceries. Something's wrong out there. No politics for me, but I hope they can fix that stuff soon. Washington Avenue Armory, Albany. Them hot dogs were pretty good for 75 cents. They always hit the spot. Do you have any ringside delights that you used to like to eat? Maybe I missed cotton candy. They used to have that at the wrestling matches too, as I recall. But the fried dough, the Memphis, I'm telling you, Tennessee and Mississippi, when I visited the USW, they had the most varied food I ever saw at an arena up to that point. And that includes like the Meadowlands. If you go to the Garden in the Meadowlands, it's the same stuff if you saw a hoop game or a hockey game. There's no difference in the food. But I'm telling you, Memphis had real local color and local flavor to their stuff. I think that one place was serving turkey legs, barbecued turkey legs, big honking turkey legs. You getting hungry? Okay, I have an addendum to the wrestling and food right now as we speak, ladies and gentlemen. The national fast food chain Bojangles. You know the menu. They got that chicken, babies. Dinners, family meals, biscuit meals. I like Bojangles. I love Popeyes, and I like Bojangles. It's just the way I feel about it. I have a pecking order, KFC, don't make me laugh. Well, anyway, if you go to Bojangles and have something, let's say, like their pulled pork barbecue sandwich, and that's good, you can collect, as we speak, WWE Classic soda cups, babies. I'm telling you. They got 4 of them, and they're legends, not new guys, legends. You can get a cup with the Outsiders. That's Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Or the Brothers of Destruction. That was The Undertaker and Kane. Or the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon. Or, and I'll bet this is the one everybody wants, the Hart Foundation. That's Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Bret the Hitman Hart. Right now at Bojangles. That sounds like an ad, doesn't it? It says they're unleashing a new duo every Monday. So I don't know how exactly this works, but I know that I'm looking at their website right now, and it says it's part of the deal. You can go over and do that. I am already seeing people on eBay buying their... I'm serious. They're buying their meal. They're eating their fast food, fatty fast food, and they're going right to eBay and trying to sell the 4 cups for $100. 4 plastic cups for $100. America. God says, go out and make a buck. I don't know what to say, but it's really true. So that's it. That's up for the food. That's all I'm going to say about the food. I hope it was a tasty segment. So as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to read a couple of letters I got. This is from, oh gosh, is it Threads? I think somebody wrote to me on Threads, which is kind of like Twitter, only not anarchy. Right. And at Melissa _P. I think I have this written down. I can't read my own writing. Anyway, Melissa, you know who you are. She writes, where you from originally? It's basically what she writes. I'm originally from Catskill, New York, home where Mike Tyson trained. home where former major leaguer Mickey Brantley grew up, and his son was Michael Brantley, who became a great major league player in his own right. I'm from Castignac in Greene County, which is a very small county. I believe the census, the last time they took it, was less than 50,000 people for the county. I believe that's true. But I have no regrets about growing up there because I've lived in the city for a long time and I've lived in the country for a long time. So I know what both are like. And now as I approach, hopefully, retirement years sometime soon, I'm tired. I'm tired of the endless red lights, rear end lights on the highways here. It's getting old. I wanted to come to New York City when I was a college age kid. I finally got down here, and I've been down here a long time, but I'm slowing down, and the pace is getting to be too much for me. So you may see me out of Carolinas calling my name. Oh, they calling my name. Carolinas might be calling my name. I am being serious when I say this. We'll see what happens. But anyway, thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. And here's a Benjamin from, I'm not going to read his last name, just for privacy's sake, but it's Benjamin from New Jersey who writes, I really enjoyed the show with Gene Jackson, and I listened to his show with you on it, and I liked them equally. I hope you can have Gene on again soon. I love Memphis. Unfortunately, I didn't see a lot of Memphis at the times, but now I'm finding out that on various YouTube channels, I can see all the Memphis I could ever want to see. You're right about that. YouTube is magic. And again, I want to thank people like Dave Dynasty and Chris P. Lettuce and whoever the others are for posting all this wrestling. They're doing it. They're like converting VHS tapes and even pneumatic tapes and putting them on YouTube for the rest of us to enjoy at the press of a button. It's magic. It's the golden age of wrestling in terms of viewing it. So yeah, I agree with you, Matthew. I think this is really cool stuff. Well, we hope this special edition of the Outdated Wrestling Hour whetted your appetite for not only delicious snacks, but more professional wrestling in a vintage mode, as it were. In any event, excuse me, I had a frog in my throat. In any event, I hope you had a little fun with this little whimsy episode of the OWH. Our website is outdatedwrestlinghour.buzzsprout.com, where you can play every one of our shows. And we're available on every podcast app, plus YouTube, plus a lot of other stuff you probably don't even realize where we are. Just look around. Just type in Outdated Wrestling Hour in your browser. You'll find us. Write to us at outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. That's outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook. I'm the guy singing with BB King. I'm also on Twitter if you can find me. I'm rarely there. So Facebook is my contact zone. So in any event, this has been a generic little joiner episode because I didn't want to go too many weeks without a show, particularly since we've had some big ones of late, including the 1980s 100. Overwhelmed with the response to that. We thank you very much for that. And to the response to the Outdated Entertainment Hour as well. So we come out every Friday with this show. So keep coming out, listening. We really appreciate it. My name is Bob Smith. Go get yourself a nice snack. Get yourself a nice wiener dog with some nice deli mustard on it. Maybe a little crinkle cut fries with it. You know what I'm saying? Am I making you hungry, baby? Crinkle cut fries and hot dog. I just lost the entire female contingent of listeners. So anyway, that's it for me. I'm whacked out right now. We'll be back with a regular format show next week. Until then, I want you all to take care of yourselves every day. Peace and love, brothers, as Ringo Starr still says, every single day.